So we're now into chapter 2, which is all about the user interface. I'm going to talk about the toolbars and all of the icons and what all the different features are that you can use as you're navigating around Wysiwyg. It's very good for beginners who haven't used Wysiwyg before to help you understand the different mouse clicks, which sounds really dull, but actually Wysiwyg does things really odd using the mouse wheel and the right click and left click. Sometimes just understanding these things can help you get to use the software efficiently from the very beginning. These things just put you off if you haven't quite figured them out. For more advanced users, you might want to skip this chapter altogether. There's about eight or nine more lessons in it, so skip to chapter 3, which is lesson 14, if you want to skip the user interface section and get straight into how to do modelling. But we're going to deep dive into some of the features in this section, so maybe even if you're an experienced user, you might learn a new trick or two. Okay, so this is chapter 2, the user interface, and we're carrying on with lesson 4, which is user interface and the main toolbar. This is basically the view you get the first time you ever launch Wysiwyg, and there's a lot to look at, so we're just going to start with the main toolbars here. At the top you've got a very typical looking Windows toolbar. We can undock these elements, move them around if you want to reconfigure our space. If we right click in a blank area, it will show us other sort of toolbars that we haven't got on. So scenes, I'll turn that on. It's popped down there. Let's just drag that over, stick it up there, and I like to have my layers on as well. Let's drag that up there too. So you know, we can customize our environment quite nicely. Just talk you through these. These are very typical: save, open, print, etc., etc. This changes our view in CAD space. Talk about them more in detail later. These are snap commands. This is your ortho mode, which will allow you to lock the direction of travel when you're moving things around. We've got some drawing tools in 2D, drawing in 3D, some pipe and truss tools, light fixture tools, and some wizards for building special objects. I'll go into all of these in detail later, have no fear, I'm not going to just brush past those. At the top here is a set of toolbars, which will give you options to help you in whichever scenario you're in. I will explain in a moment what these are, but basically when you click on each of these, this toolbar will change depending on which features are available in each mode. The layer database is actually an undockable platform, window here, and we've got a library browser as well, which is also undocked. So I can move these around, but sometimes you might turn it on and not have them. They won't be there. If you want to find them, you can click on in a layer menu button there and it'll bring it up. And this one here to bring up our library, or this one here. This is our library, this is our fixture library. It's actually the same thing. And the idea is when you're in the library browser, you can sort of click through. You've got the library there, allows you to have objects, and here's fixtures. Yeah, we can do that in more detail in a minute. And I'm going to do layers later as well. On the left hand side we have a favourites menu, and again we're going to look at that in a bit more detail later. But we can build sort of our favourite fixtures and store them here so we can use them. And at the bottom here is the options to change the types of view we got. So here we've got at the moment a quad view, so we have a top, a side and a front. I know that because I'm looking at my viewpoints up here. That shows me I've got a top view. You see the top of that cube is yellow. I've got side, front, and this one here is actually a perspective view that I can move around. You can see the camera in there moving too. And we can change any of these views by clicking on one of this. So I've now got two side views, they're now identical. So you know, you may not need a front view, for instance. You may decide I need two top views or maybe two section views from different directions. And this one here is very difficult to see unless you've got some geometry, but this is an isometric view, allows you to see the objects in 3D, but it's not a 3D sort of graphical view, it's a CAD view. But that'll make more sense when we come to it later. But if I click on, say, wireframe down here, it will just open a single frame. And again, I can click through, change the view. But I've just got one window now rather than 4. And shaded view is the same thing again. It gives me one view, but this time it is a 3D view. And it makes absolutely no sense without having geometry in there. Flight case is something that I'd be interested to find out if anyone actually uses flight cases anymore. But the idea of this is that you can create a like a box full of all the fixtures. So maybe you're a touring company, or you've got a venue with a fixed lighting rig and a fixed stock of equipment. You might keep it all in here. You can leave them all patched and channeled, and you can click and drag them out and put them into your menu. I can see why they thought that might be useful, but I've never used it in my life, so I'm not going to talk about it in any more detail than that. Just want to talk about it and say it's there. If you want to know more, put some feedback and I'll do a video on it. Right, that is a basic overview of the main toolbars. I'm going to jump now to lesson 5.